Let's go to some other events in the US now. In the last 24 hours, some of the richest and most powerful men in the world, the heads of the tech giants, have fronted up at congressional hearings. They've fronted up virtually, given the pandemic. Let's find out what's gone on there now with Kosha Gada, who's Managing Director of Recastle. She's a media entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us, Kosha. You're talking Amazon, Google, Facebook and Apple. And the hearing here is really probing primarily their market power. These are the modern-day monopolies of big business.
That's right, Chris, and very good to be with you. Thank you very much for having me. So, when I think about these companies, the thing to remember is they are 4 of the 5 most valuable companies, the 5th being Microsoft, that already had its antitrust moment in the 90s. Most valuable companies ever created in history, and they did it in the incredible time frame of 20 years. So they're under, understandably, a lot of scrutiny right now around the world. And just to put it in context, there's dozens and dozens of probes going on, and this one that just happened yesterday was in the House Judiciary. So they don't have the authority to enforce laws or bring antitrust criminal action against these companies, but it's more of an information gathering exercise to inform future laws, possibly some reform around US antitrust law that right now has certain advantages or loopholes, if you will, that these companies have been able to take advantage of in their incredible quest for scale. Yeah,
you make the point about how they've grown so quickly, the power and wealth that's generated so quickly. Jeff Bezos, who founded Amazon, gave an amazing presentation about his life story, about how he came from nothing and was self-made. And yeah, that's all fine. But the point is, what's he doing with that power now? And let's just have a look at this exchange where he was questioned about Amazon's use of data.
Does Amazon ever access and use third-party seller data when making business decisions? And just a yes or no will suffice, sir.
I can't answer that question yes or no. What I can tell you is we have a policy against using seller-specific data to aid our private label business, but I can't guarantee you that that policy has never been violated.
Can't guarantee us, Kosha. That's quite an admission, isn't it? Because this is one of the big worries, is what do these companies do with our private data?
Yes, and it's interesting because these 4 companies, there's overlaps in what they were being questioned on, but they also do operate different business models and play in different marketplaces. So with Amazon specifically, what they're alleging and probing over there is they are the distribution portal for the world. Anybody who wants to sell anything can create a shop front on Amazon within 24 hours. And then what they're doing with that is that gives them incredible information, and they can exploit that information about what's selling, where other small-time sellers or mom-and-pop shops are being successful, and then use that information themselves to either offer their own competing private label products or clone the offerings that other folks are creating and basically stomp them out of business. And I think what you saw there with him sort of leaving a bit of a caveat out there is, I think, in an original hearing that took place about a year ago, because this investigation has been going on for 18 months, he denied that. And then there was an expose and sort of an investigative journalism piece in the Wall Street Journal that exposed some instances of that. So I think he was prepped by the general counsel and the lawyers at Amazon to kind of leave a little bit of wiggle room there in case those findings come out.
Wow, yeah, so a bit of damage repair there. Just very briefly, Kosha, before we let you go, do you expect that we'll get legislative changes out of this? Do you think there'll be curbs or efforts to break up or regulate these companies?
It's I think the key question, it's hard to say. I would say in the United States since the 1970s or so, the Supreme Court's doctrine around antitrust has been markedly libertarian, where their guiding principle is that if consumers are not hurt by this or aren't experiencing price gains or price gouging in any way, then it's fine and there isn't a cause for government intervention. But I think what that's done is, since these companies offer products that are virtually free, it's immunized them from that. And that's a big undertaking to change that law and to catch up with the speed of these companies. I think it's also obviously an election year, and a lot of it will stem on who takes over the House, whether or not Republicans hold the Senate, et cetera. So lots of moving parts before we would see any
Thanks, Kosha.
reform, I think.
Thanks, Kosha. We might check back with you later and see where it all ends up.